like you don't need a computer science degree to be like a software developer, right?
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff online, right? There's a lot of online courses you could do. There's a lot of certifications you could do. There's a lot of YouTube tutorials you could follow. Like so you can practically build a portfolio, right, for yourself, like of things you've worked on, and put that as part of your CV, right, and show that like this is proof.
Sanbonani Dumelang, welcome back to our channel. It is your favorite tech sisters, and I am your host, Nomfundo Ndala, and you already know I don't write solo.
Hi everyone, I'm Tobeka Shabalala. Welcome.
Welcome back. Again, in the spirit of Women's Month, we are happy to have another guest, and we have hopefully a woman in tech ally, right?
Ally, yeah.
And so we have Siphesihle Sithungu. Am I saying your surname correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So Siphesihle Sithungu is a lecturer at the University of Johannesburg, and he holds a PhD qualification, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
And he also, you did say that also in your spare time you like music.
yeah, I do. Yeah.
And I've also found out that he's a Man City fan, so yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. And so just before we get into it, just tell us a little bit more about Siphesihle. What, like, someone had to say, describe you, what would you say?
So Siphesihle comes from the East Rand of Johannesburg. So where you guys are shooting, I think this is the East Rand, right?
Yeah, this is the East, yeah.
Yeah. So I come from Tsakane. Yeah.
I'm from Itakane.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, that's
alright.
amazing. So Mbuye Tsakane. Currently, like I live in Joburg for work purposes.
Okay.
As you said, I'm a lecturer at UJ, and yeah, so I lecture computer science and either like IT related courses, and then so in my spare time, I'm either like at church, playing the piano,
Nice.
or like I'm playing FIFA. And I've recently also acquired an interest in like the Formula One. So I'm also starting to spend a lot of time on that.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right, so take us through your journey into tech, right?
Yeah.
So as an ally for women, but firstly, your journey. What has been your journey into tech?
That's actually interesting because so when I was in primary school, I wanted to be a pilot. So that's the first thing I wanted to be. Yeah.
Okay.
And then so I went to high school. So like the older you grow, it's like life becomes more and more real, right?
Yeah.
And then like I started, wanting to do something a bit more realistic. Like I wanted to be an accountant.
Okay.
So that's because my sister told me it was interesting.
Okay.
And then, so in grade 9, when I was doing accounting, I realized like I wasn't that good at it. So I decided that like I'm going to just go into electrical engineering.
Okay.
So like in my school, like I was in a technical school, so like you could choose electrical technology or like civil technology or mechanical technology.
Okay.
So I chose electrical technology. And then, and then after that, I did my matric, but my mathematics wasn't that great.
Okay.
And my physics was terrible. So I actually had to do a gap year where I upgraded my math and physics.
Okay.
And then after that, then I was accepted at UJ for electrical engineering with IT. So it's like a dual degree.
Oh, okay.
I did that for 2 years. I wasn't coping with the workload. And that's when I decided to like switch to computer science and informatics.
Okay.
And then from then on, I didn't look back. So I did computer science all the way to my PhD. Yeah.
So the electrical engineering with IT, was it like 2 qualifications in one?
Yeah. So I think that's how they described it. Like I don't know if like in reality, like you hold a separate IT qualification and a separate electrical engineering qualification.
Okay.
But when I started doing it, that was the description to me, the way I understood it. Because you did the IT majors all the way to third year, and the electrical engineering majors all the way to third year as well. No, to fourth year, because engineering is 4 years. Yeah.
And wasn't that a lot? Like, I'm just thinking, you coming out of school, maybe you've done a gap year, now you have to do so much, like an intense course.
Yeah, like it was intense, and during that time I was still like deeply into music. So like I'd miss a lot of classes. Like I hope my parents don't see that. So like I'd miss a lot of classes. Like going to rehearsals, doing gigs, performing, like all around Joburg. And at the same time, like it demanded like a typical day, like in that degree, was basically from 8 a.m. to like 6:45 p.m. Right, like just attending lectures
No
or doing
breaks.
practicals. You would like have a break, maybe like for an hour or two, like during the day, but like it was very intense.
So your move from electrical and IT to just computer science, and you say that the workload in electrical and IT was a lot. Did
Yeah.
you feel now a difference when you were just doing computer science?
I did,
Okay.
because like I had way more time.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I did computer science, like I was only doing my majors, which is computer science and informatics.
Okay.
And then I did mathematics. So I did applied math. That was my elective. So like, I had, like a more balanced lifestyle, like so to speak. Yeah, it was way better.
For me, I'm interested in the fact that you went to PhD level, like in computer science. Like, I don't get it. Firstly, why? Why up all the way to PhD? And what does that entail? Because for many of us in the corporate space, we are doing technical stuff. We are coding or you're doing business analysis. Like, what would be the need to go to a PhD level?
PhD. Yeah, that's actually like a very interesting question. Like, and it's a very important question nowadays because so like a PhD, in my opinion, is not a qualification that you should get if you don't intend to be an academic.
Okay.
So if you're someone, let's say, that you want to go to industry, or like you want to start a tech company, things like that. I think a master's would be useful for you. But I think if you were to pursue like a PhD, really, like in my opinion, that's if you want to be an academic, you want to work in either like a research institution or like an academic institution, like a university.
So there's a degree, and then
There's an honors. Yeah.
and
then
then
there's a master's.
masters, and then
there's a PhD.
so you had
You
that
did
last
all
level.
the way.
Yeah. So I love academia. Like I enjoy doing research. Like going to conferences, meeting like different kinds of researchers, working on like interesting stuff. So for me, it wasn't like I didn't have to sit down and think about it. I just did it because it made sense. Yeah.
It's funny though because you struggled a bit in high school.
Yeah.
And then you went all the way
Yeah,
to a PhD.
yeah,
It's very
Yeah.
it's very ironic, but I think it's
Yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah.
And what was your research on?
Yeah.
Since you're saying you're in PhD level and
So I've actually like changed my research direction like a few times, and like that's because my interest is always changing, right? Which is also not a great thing for someone who wants to be an academic like for a long time, because you kind of have to focus on one thing and go deep in that thing, right?
Okay.
So, for example, when I did my honors, I was more interested in so there's a field of artificial intelligence called like evolutionary computation, right?
Okay.
So I was interested in that, and like in game AI, right? And then when I did my masters, then I decided to focus on like more on game AI and like adaptive, dynamic, like difficulty scaling. And then after that, so there was a bit of machine learning as well. But yeah, after I finished my master's, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do games anymore. I want to do something else, right? So I decided to shift my focus on like critical infrastructures, right? So like, like there's a lot of technology that's being used to augment our critical infrastructures, like power grids, telecommunications, and things like that. So I wanted to focus on like developing an algorithm for intrusion detection, like in critical infrastructures. So, and I also had an interest in generative AI at that point. So, I wanted to use generative AI for intrusion detection in critical infrastructures. So, my PhD ended up being about that. Yeah.
Okay.
So how does like all the research fit into actually, because now you've studied for so long,
Yeah.
how does it now fit into the real world? Like
Yeah.
what's the benefit of saying I've studied so much, I've done a research on this and I have a PhD?
Yeah.
Well, then what?
Yeah. So that's another very good question. Like, so researchers are primarily people who are invested in the creation of new knowledge, right?
Okay.
So if you look at like, some of the major discoveries, especially like in the field of computing, for example, things like, like the pioneering algorithms, even in machine learning, like convolutional neural networks, they were actually invented by academics, right? Things like, for example, like generative adversarial networks, which are like at the forefront of generative AI. They were also invented by researchers, right, in academic institutions. So researchers are people who are interested in that, right? Like trying to go deep, like, in a specific topic that interests them and trying to create new knowledge or like innovate, create like new ways of solving like really like foundational problems, right? So I think, like doing a PhD is all about that. Like it's when, like my like head of department at like the Academy of Computer Science and Software Engineering, he likes saying that a PhD is like training, right? It's like you are being trained to be a researcher, basically. And then your research career starts after your PhD.
So basically, like Einstein, you wanna be like Einstein. So.
Yeah. Like, I
Okay.
mean, if I doubt, I could get, to where Albert Einstein was. But, my dream or my aspiration is to contribute something like that's foundational, like
Okay.
to computer science. Yeah.
When I was in varsity, I had a lecturer, right? And he used to complain about being a lecturer, and sometimes he feels that he should have just gone into the industry, and he had multiple reasons for this. So I want to ask you,
Yeah.
why did you? Okay, now you went on with your computer science qualification. Why did you not go into the industry and feel like I want to teach?
Yeah. So I did actually have that I don't know, like inner conflict, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So I actually started lecturing in 2019, right? So I did my honors degree in 2018 in computer science. And then, so towards the end of my honors degree, when I was writing, like my final exams, so the HOD at the time, who is retired now, and who actually became my honors supervisor, master's supervisor, and PhD supervisor, actually gave me an offer to be a lecturer, right?
Okay.
But the weird part, so something like I don't typically tell people is that during my third year, I used to think a lot about being a lecturer. I think if it was during my third year honors, I used to think about it, just having like a nice, simple, balanced life, as an academic. I used to imagine it sometimes, and like when I was towards the end of my honors, I wasn't even thinking about being a lecturer. I never even thought like they would approach me like to do
Okay.
that. So I was already, like looking for jobs, like in corporate. And I actually did have an interview at a software like development company. They loved me. I did a coding test. I passed the test. And then in the final interview, like I think it was the CEO of that company, he told me, yeah, so we want to take you, we'll give you an offer and things like that. And then like right before I signed the contract, that's when my supervisor gave me the lecturing job.
And you didn't think twice.
I didn't think twice because being a lecturer at UJ also came with the advantage of being able to do my master's and PhD for free.
Okay.
And
Okay.
like I had always wanted to do my master's. So it was either I was going to go to corporate and do my master's part-time, or I was going to work as a lecturer and do my master's, right? So when that opportunity came, I just took it. Yeah.
Yeah, because some of his, and I'm going to also phrase this to you, some of his concerns, he would say, now I'm here teaching you guys. On Saturdays, we have class, right? So then the BTech students would come and they come in their like nice cars and everything. And he would say, you must go there, drink fucking loads on Saturday and see people in the industry. And you must go check my car.
Yeah.
Right? So I think there was also like a financial gap. A financial element. He felt that I'm missing out on so much money. Do you ever feel that as well?
Yeah, no, like definitely. I'm not going to lie to you.
Really?
So being an academic is kind of, it's a sacrifice that you make, right? So academics like don't earn, as much as people in industry. So that's a known fact. I actually knew that before I started being a lecturer. So there's actually a trend. One of who's now my colleague, who was a lecturer at the time when I did big data in honors, he would show this trend where, like, as an academic, your salary starts quite high, but it quickly like converges, right? And then, but as like someone who goes to corporate, your salary starts way lower, but then like there's no upper limit, right? So that's like one fact of being an academic, but there's also the prospect of having more control over your time. Like traveling, like I love traveling. So I get to go to conferences, like in different countries and things like that. And I get to do research, which I really, really love. So it's like the trade-off is fine for me for now, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
So besides obviously the financial aspect that we're speaking of, are there any challenges that you feel are there, either getting into lecturing or as a lecturer?
I think one of the biggest challenges right now, to be honest with you, would be, like the current economic climate. I'm sorry about that. Like in our country, because you can actually see the effect of that, like in universities, right? Because, for example, like the Department of Higher Education, like is like, how can I put it? Like they don't give as much money as they used to give, like to subsidize research, like and things like that, right? So in order to travel, like as an academic, like you need to build a research fund, right? And you use that to attend conferences and things like that. You can also get like funding from like the National Research Foundation and so forth. But primarily, as an academic, you get subsidy from the Department of Education. And then you use that money to travel, right, to conferences, and that actually benefits the universities because universities, like one of the strongest pillars is their research output, right? And it's becoming increasingly important all around the world. So sometimes it feels like a bit like, you're doing something that benefits the university, but the amount of funding that you get for doing it, right, doesn't quite reflect the effort, right? So I think for me that's one of the biggest like challenges right now. Yeah.
And how do you build this fund? Is it people you don't know funding in there, or would you be going to specific companies or what?
Oh, no. So like you mean like in terms of like subsidy?
Yes.
No. So subsidy comes straight like from the Department of Higher Education and Training, right?
Okay.
So whenever like you produce research, like they recognize that, like you get, certain amounts of money, but it doesn't come to you. Like it goes to you, Jay, but it goes to your entity, right? Which means that, like those funds are controlled by you, right?
Okay.
So you can decide, for example, to buy research equipment, or you can decide to like, go to a conference, present a paper, or attend a workshop, like things like that.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
So, I mean, you're quite young compared to lecturers a
That
lot.
we know.
Yeah, that that we know, or what can be deemed as a lecturer, because a lot of lecturers are quite old people. How do you now bridge the gap, or like even having conversations with them, because you constantly doing research and you're trying to stay up to date with like the latest technologies.
Yeah.
Now, how does that work? Because in corporate, right, we have this thing called boomers. Are they called boomers, right? The older ones. There's the older ones, we call
Yeah.
them boomers.
I think
And then
so.
there's the millennials, and then there's
Yeah.
the Gen Zs and so on. Now, the boomers are the ones that are very stubborn, they don't want to
Yeah.
change technologies. They don't want to move from one thing. They don't want to learn, they're so uptight. How do you deal with that in the lecturing space?
So I think the one thing about my department specifically, right? It has a lot of young people.
Oh, nice.
So some of my colleagues are younger than me.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like we don't have a lot of like colleagues, who are like close to retirement, right?
Okay.
But even the ones we have, and like I'm saying this without buying face, right? Like they pretty, like open-minded. For example, like when I did my supervisor, as I mentioned, she was already retired, right? But like when I came up with my PhD topic, like some of the stuff, like generative modeling, she hadn't done it before, like and things like that. But she had like an open mind about it. Like she didn't mind. She let me explore my research. She didn't ask me, like she didn't restrict me in any way, right? Her only concern was making sure that we are producing something that is like big enough for a PhD, right?
Okay.
But not drowning in the complexity, right?
Okay.
So she would just put those guardrails to just keep me going forward, right? And like, for example, there's an honors course that I'm teaching, which is like called Advanced AI. So like usually, like in that course, like whoever's teaching the course will explore like a certain advanced topic, like in artificial intelligence. So when I went to my HOD, like last year, to ask to like teach the course, I literally told him that I would, like change the course and like I teach generative AI because that's what like I was doing my PhD, and he was happy about it. Like he wasn't like, no, let's stick to what we've been doing, like and things like that. He was like, no, like that's something that's becoming more and more important. So you should definitely do that, like by all means. So like they do have an open mind. Like
That's
yeah.
nice. So you speak about so you teach generative AI for honors.
Yeah, it's honors level. Yeah.
So you speak about how you asked to, teach generative AI because it is what's trending.
Yeah.
How do you think that universities are keeping up with what's happening in corporate? Because often we've seen, often we've seen that people complain about how varsities are so backwards with
Yeah.
the education
Yeah.
and everything that they're teaching. So do you think that universities are keeping up? If they are not, how do we change that?
Yeah. So I've never worked at a different university, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So you're speaking from a UJ perspective.
So I can only speak from a user perspective. And I can also speak like from like students who have come from different universities who've expressed like their experience like at UJ compared to other universities. And like, I'm not lying when I say this. Like, we've had students come from, like so-called great universities, but they always say that the IT at UJ is really like proper, right?
Oh, okay.
And like, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but recently, like the computer science degree at UJ, or like computer science at UJ, was rated first in South Africa, right? We have a lot of industry partners, right?
Okay.
Like, so every single year we have an event called Projects Day, right? So Projects Day is basically an event where our final year students present projects that they've been working on as teams, right? Like throughout the year. And those are like, so we push them, to develop like industry level projects, right? A lot of the students, for example, get hired from Projects Day, right? Because there's a lot of people from industry like who come to Projects Day. Some of them act as judges, right? So they judge the projects. We also have our honor students at Projects Day. Like some of them present their projects, and it's a big event, right? And that has resulted in us having a lot of like industry partners. With some of our honors courses, for example, some of them are taught by people in industry, right? They're actually not academics, right?
Okay.
Like they work in industry, but they teach some of the courses. Particularly like UJ does love that, right? Like they do love having industry people teaching subjects. And also I'm going to speak in like from within the Faculty of Science, because like I'm not exposed to the other faculties. So that's what I know from the Faculty of Science. I know like our dean also, like our HOD did mention that like a while back, that she does love it when like industry people like teach courses, because then like our courses stay relevant like with
Yeah.
industry. Yeah.
And at the back of that, right? So a lot of people, because of the notion that universities or traditional way of schooling
Yeah.
is not keeping up, they're opting for boot camps
Yeah.
and just that short stint and then getting a job.
Yeah.
So without being biased, would
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
people should still go the university route and or should they consider both?
Yeah.
Is there a plus for both? And also, should universities be a bit more practical about how we approach computer science as a whole?
Yeah. So without being biased, right? And I do tell this to people. I've told it to students as well. Like, you don't need a computer science degree to be like a software developer, right?
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff online, right? There's a lot of online courses you could do. There's a lot of certifications you could do. There's a lot of YouTube tutorials you could follow. Like you so you can practically build a portfolio, right, for yourself, like of things you've worked on, and put that as part of your CV, right, and show that like this is proof that I'm capable of doing this, right. You don't have to go to university for that, right.
Okay.
I believe that university is a place you should go to if you are, like, how can I put it? Let's say you're not sure which area of IT you want to like do, right?
Okay.
And you want to explore the different areas of IT, right? Because, for example, like our degrees, right? Or like, well, our computer science and informatics degree or information technology degree will expose you to like different kinds of, like areas like in IT, right? So things like software engineering, for example, computer science, and within computer science, like we'll expose you to different programming languages. We'll expose you to like back end, programming, front end programming, developing desktop applications, developing web applications. Like also, like developing databases, SQL, like and so forth, right? So by the time you finish the degree, you have been exposed to so many possible things you could do,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And then you can decide for yourself, like, what you want to be, right? And then in terms of like doing your honors, that's when now you kind of know yourself, right? So you can do either an honors in informatics or an honors in computer science, right? So even if you do an honors, you can still pick a specialization. We actually just introduced specialization degrees in AI or cybersecurity.
Okay.
So if you found yourself and you know that, you know what, I love AI, right? You can then, focus on AI, right? So that's what honors is for, right? It's actually focusing on one particular thing and going deeper into that, right? And then your master's is basically where you start now learning how to do proper research, right? Like asking research questions, formulating hypotheses, like collecting data, building a model, creating a prototype system, collecting results, reporting findings, right, and so forth. So I think, like people should think of university like that, right? So university is not the only way to get a job or to be successful. Yeah.
It's rich coming from a lecturer.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say no, university.
No. Like I'd be lying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
But people don't, especially if you are going to be in the industry, you don't need to get to masters, right?
No, you don't. Like I know people who have an undergraduate degree who earn way more than I earn, like way more, right?
Okay.
I know people who have PhDs who are in industry or like who are doing great, right?
Okay.
So you definitely don't need a master's for industry. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I have a question, right? You teach honors, and a lot of people, I think, in honors are people who are in the industry. You
Yeah.
know, they are maybe doing it part time or something. Some of
Yeah.
them. How do you deal? Because when I'm sometimes in class and I listen to the certain people and start correcting the lecturer like quite
True.
often.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, and so I'm asking myself because I know, which is why I said a lot of lecturers are quite old, and if they're teaching something new, I know very well that he did not study this, like he does not know this, so he probably
Yeah.
went and did some research
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
and he's probably teaching from
Yeah.
internet,
Yeah.
ne?
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
or having
Yeah.
worked with that thing.
Yeah.
So then people start correcting him. So how do
Yeah.
you ever experience that? Like,
Yeah. So I mean, like, so advanced AI like is not the only honors course I teach. I also teach a course on critical information infrastructure protection, right?
okay.
And that's a cybersecurity course, right? And like, I'm not a cybersecurity researcher, right? So I don't know much. I wouldn't even say like I know much about cybersecurity, right?
Okay.
I know quite a bit about critical infrastructure, because that was part of my research, like for my PhD. I have an idea of what's going on in the space, right? Because like I have actually published a few papers like in that area. I've attended conferences on cyber warfare, cybersecurity, like and so forth. So I know what people are talking about. I know what the research is like, what direction countries are taking, like in terms of that. But I'm not going to, let's say for example, so in class, like there'll be someone who works in information security, right? And they're just doing this because they want to just further their qualification, right? So if someone like that corrects what I'm saying, that's welcome, like because like I'm not here trying to act as God, like I know everything, right? I'm here to help you get the skills that you need from an academic perspective, right? So that's actually how I look at honors, right? Like it's for me, it's more of introducing students to the idea of independent inquiry, right? So instead of relying on me to tell you things or to teach you, like and so forth, right? I'll tell you, like, go read this, right? Like, go do this, go implement this, build the system, write a paper on it, like reporting the results, like and things like that. Because I feel like that's what I'm training you to do. Like, if you're doing an honors, you are too old to be like wanting to be taught anything, right? You can go read about anything, right? So my job as an academic is to teach you, like the scientific process. Yeah.
Okay.
So just to switch direction a bit, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of women in tech,
Yeah.
what do you feel the representation of women in tech is? Because from a corporate perspective, we are seeing maybe lesser women or
Yeah.
not enough. I don't know, maybe in the lecturing space, or from your view of people coming into the university and either
Yeah.
finishing or not, is there enough representation of women?
So I think that is like still, like an issue.
Okay.
So here, like I'm also going to, say something that I just believe, right? But like obviously, if you look at the numbers, right, it definitely is an issue. Especially if you have a lot of women who want to be in tech, right? But they don't get the opportunities, right? Like because of biases, like and things like that. So so I also teach like a first year computer science course, which has like, I think we currently have like 552 students, right? We do have a lot of females, right?
Okay.
Like a lot of female students. And that's a good thing, right? Because it means like more and more females are actually not afraid to do like technological subjects, right? So that's definitely a good thing. And like you do see, like those students progressing, like to their second year, third year honors, like and so forth. So I think it's for me, I don't know, like it looks like an upward trend from like a university lecturer point of view, right? Because I'm not in corporate, I don't know what's happening in corporate, right? But from my experience as a lecturer, there's more and more females, like definitely, like doing computer science and IT, and so forth. So I think that's very, very important. Yeah.
Are they starting and finishing? Because obviously there's sometimes numbers dwindle. Are
Yeah.
they the first to dwindle, or are they actually finishing through?
I would have to go and actually,
Check. Okay.
like find that out.
Alright.
Like if I said yes or no, like I'd be lying to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, makes sense.
We had a recruiter here, and she said that females, a lot of them were struggling with coding.
Yeah.
Is that
Okay.
true?
I don't know.
Do you feel that when you
Yeah.
maybe looking at scripts, well, obviously
Yeah.
you're not looking at gender,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like, do you
Yeah.
think so?
I really don't know, right?
Okay.
Because so most of the students, right? Because like we have so many students in computer science one. I mean, like I don't even know the surnames of like I don't know like 10 students, right? And I like maybe I don't know to other lecturers that might seem weird, but I kind of do it on purpose, right? Because like I don't want to establish any close relationship
okay.
with students, right? And that's
why not?
because sorry.
Why not?
So that you're not
like
biased, I guess.
yeah. So like I don't want to have a bias like when I'm marking like someone's paper.
Okay.
So for example, like some students, let's say if they get to third year, right, they get surprised when I don't know their surnames, right? Like they legitimately get surprised. Like how do you not know
Like
me?
how say
right?
I was your student.
Yeah, and like yeah, so yeah, like I don't know, like I treat like students like based on like student number, right? So this is student number, this is the paper, like I mark, like I don't make that link like between someone's face and their surname. That only happens when they start working as assistants, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So that's when I actually get to the point where I'm like, okay, so this surname, you, right? But even some of them, I still have to ask them, like, what's your surname, right? Like, let's say I'm taking the register or something like that. But like, that's just a personal philosophy. Like, I just feel it's better for me like that because then I mark fairly, right? Like if I don't know who you are, then the marks you got them because of what you did. You know,
Oh, that makes
Maybe
sense.
that should be your next research. How many females are finishing?
Yes.
How many
Yes.
how many are finishing? How many of
Yeah.
them are actually successful in tech?
Yeah.
Because honestly, like I think we said the other time, they finish, but where are they after that?
But maybe we were looking at it from a
coding,
perspective. So maybe they're still there. We don't know. We'll still not to also research.
Yeah, I mean, like we do have like some like PhD candidates, for example, who are female.
Okay.
Like I can already think of a few. There's one female who just finished now. I was actually graduating, we were graduating on the same day, right? She was also doing a PhD in computer science. I've published like papers with female students at honors level. Like there's quite a few masters, like female students as well. I mean, my supervisor is female, right? Like I have female colleagues, like associate professors, full professors.
Diversity there.
There is quite diversity.
Like that's why in my eyes it seems like an upward like trend. Yeah.
Looking back at your career now and how everything played out, do you not have any regrets?
Not at all.
Okay. And what is the one thing you wish maybe you could have done or changed, or let's say you could have done earlier in your career?
Definitely finishing my PhD sooner.
Okay. But you felt like you took time to do your PhD?
I feel like I could have finished it like
Sooner.
in less than 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I say finishing my PhD sooner, I mean like from first year, right?
Okay.
So from when I started like first year, like if I didn't lose focus, like explore like being a musician, try like that route.
Yeah.
And if I knew from then, right, that I wanted to be an academic, and I just focused on it, right? And, then obviously I would have finished my PhD way sooner than now, right? I think by now I'd be where I actually want to be, like in that space, right? But everything happens for a reason, because at the end of the day, I do love music, right? Like one of my dreams, I probably shouldn't mention this because like
Put
I don't
it
like
out there, then we'll hold you accountable.
So like I don't usually like talking about things I want to do because it puts pressure on me, right? But I do want to like conduct an orchestra, right?
Wow.
Like,
but not like in the traditional sense, right? Like not an orchestra actually performing classical music, right? But are you guys like familiar with the thing Black Coffee did? Like
Not
when
Black
like he had
Coffee, I
a
think there was
AKA as well, right?
Oh, okay.
I think Kabza the Small.
Kabza the Small.
Oh
That's the one we all know.
Yeah. So Black Coffee did it a while back.
Is
like I
it?
think like 2012, or something like that, where he was like a DJ and then like he had a whole orchestra, right?
Okay.
So I want to do something like that, right? But like in terms of the genre, like I haven't thought of that, right? But obviously, like that's a very long-term goal, right? So I do love music, like I love it that much. But it's just that I think if I didn't have like a double-minded approach, right? If I decided early on that I'm going to start with academics, and then like at some point, I'll like sorry about that. Like I'll start exploring music. I think that's the one thing I would change. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So just to close, because I think I always say this: people that come here are so passionate about what they're talking about that we could go on and on and on. But I think just to close, right? So there's probably students out there, maybe in matric, maybe still early years, who want to do computer science. If you can share what's the entry level, what do they need to enter? Because mostly we just think maths and science, right?
Yeah.
So that's one. And then lastly, just, I don't know, just something you want to leave with people out there who want to be in computer science.
So if like for students who want to do computer science, like I would say, make sure that your mathematics is strong, right?
Okay.
Your physics, well, I mean, like I think I like from the top of my head, like I can't remember. I think like from the prospectus, you need like a level 5, right?
Okay.
Which is around 60%, right, for physics, and for math, right? But because computer science is like has a lot of like mathy things, right? I think it would benefit you like to focus on that, right? Especially like calculus, like differentiation, especially if you want to do things like machine learning, right? There's a lot of that, like in machine learning. If you can do statistics, because like in some high schools, you can add, I think it's paper 3, right? Mathematics. I think you should add it, definitely. Because statistics becomes like important as well, like in AI, like optimization and machine learning as well. So mathematics definitely important. And then another thing is if you can, right, try to expose yourself to coding as quickly as possible, right? Even if it's not coding, but like being familiar with a computer, right? If, for example, you can't afford like a computer, which unfortunately is the case, like in our country, and we do actually, see that a lot, like in our first year students. I was actually speaking to my colleague about it. A lot of the students, for example, when they start first year, they don't even know what a mouse is, right?
Sure.
Like, like when you say, okay, left click, double click, like, or right click, they don't know what you mean, right? If they have to open a terminal, like to write commands, they don't know what that is, right? Microsoft Word, creating a PDF, and like it's heartbreaking. Like it's really, really not a good thing. We shouldn't, like it's like we're not supposed to be in that position at all, right? So I think like if you can, right, like I know, for example, like in the townships, there's internet cafes, right? Like try, even if it's once a week, go to an internet cafe, like explore, like open a browser, go to the internet, search for stuff, like go to YouTube. I think it's like 5 rands an hour or something like that, right? And even if you're a parent, I think you should definitely do that. Expose your students to computers like as much as you can. What helped me, for example, when my sister got her first job, they gave her like an old computer, right? So it was very slow. I think the RAM was like, I laugh about it now. I think it was like 512 megabytes of RAM. And the CPU was like a Pentium 2, like an Intel Pentium 2. The hard drive was like 10 gigabytes, right? But I used to play with that computer every single day, right? Every day, right? So when I got to like first year computer science, I didn't know how to program. Sorry about that, but I definitely knew how to use a computer, right? So the only learning curve for me was learning how to program, right? So I would definitely encourage that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That is it, folks. Thank you so much. This was a
Thank you
very
so
fruitful
much for coming
conversation.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So you already know you must go and hit that like button, subscribe, comment, share with your friends. And I think this may be useful to someone who wants to join, want to get into computer science. So that is it from us. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
again
Until
for
next
It's a
time.
pleasure,
sharing.
guys. Thanks for having me.
All right,
Bye.
skadoosh. Bye.
Bye.